This is Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth. We're here in Chantilly, Virginia, to cover the annual Bilderberg Conference, and I am joined by Mark Anderson, journalist, a researcher, and I want to talk to you about the conference this year. And I mean, last time, you and I were here covering this 5 years ago, and things have changed since then. What sort of things are on your radar now, as far as what Bilderberg is planning this year?
Well, certainly there's the unusual number of journalists here that I'm looking at. The head of CERN, the super collider, is here. These are some notable things on the guest list, as we'll gingerly call it. Also, there's the Global Cities movement and what that means, something I'm watching that Bilderberg is doing in kind of an indirect collusion with the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. And there's the elements of the Trump administration here, the most White House officials and 2 sitting senators. This is the most American officials currently in office that have been at Bilderberg in a very, very long time. These, in simple terms, are the things I'm watching the most closely.
Well, a lot of people are asking the question about Donald Trump's relationship to Bilderberg. And, what is your understanding of that? Like you said, I mean, he seems to have about 4 representatives from his team here. And a lot of people are questioning whether or not his jumping out of the Paris climate agreement is going to be upsetting these guys. What do you think? Is Trump in, are they, in cahoots with him, or is he a problem for them?
It's a tough call, Dan. First of all, let's just name them. The National Security Chief, H.R. McMaster, is here. Christopher Liddell, the New Zealand-born strategic advisor to Trump. And the Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary. And then you also have the sitting senators, Tom Cotton of Arkansas, first-time Bilderberg, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, second-time Bilderberg. He was in Dresden, Germany last year. And these are the real notables here. There was something in the mainstream press where McMaster was standing up for Donald Trump's view on climate change, pulling out of the Paris Agreement, as the mainstream press is all aflutter about now. They're going nuts. Entire sections of the Washington Post today, June 2nd, Friday, day 2 of Bilderberg 2017, just awash with this stuff. So it seems like it's a combination of things. Mr. McMaster is a neocon. He kind of has, not just kind of, but a lot has Syria, Iran, and Russia in his crosshairs. So in that, he and Bilderberg, as a general rule, would agree. But what I'm reading is that McMaster is inclined to stand up for the Trump position to pull out of the Paris Agreement. So it's probably a rather spirited discussion going on right now this weekend through June 4 as Bilderberg proceeds on those 2 points. So they don't necessarily agree on everything. One could be very contentious, that being global warming. The other, they might tend to agree more, and that's to have a more aggressive policy toward Russia and its allies, Iran and Syria.
Of course, we're only left to be able to speculate about certain things because they don't publish the meetings of the minutes. And you mentioned that the director of CERN is here, the CEO of CERN. And it's interesting that she would be invited, especially when none of the topics on the agenda seem to have anything to do with CERN's technology. Why do you think someone like her would be invited this year? Again, it's tough to speculate because we don't really know what they're saying on the inside, but it's intriguing that she's here. What do you think?
Well, I don't think Bilderberg totally lies when they say that they do reserve some time for just discussing megatrends. It could very well be that they're just fascinated with super colliders and they want to know more about it. I don't think that every word that comes out of their mouth is, world networking, global planning, insider deals for each other, because CEOs and people of big data come here and collude and meet and break bread with people that are policymakers from other countries, which breaks the Logan Act. If I'm an American CEO and I come here and I handle big data and I'm meeting with current or former intelligence officials, the Logan Act, read to the letter, understood to the letter, would prohibit me making any kind of deals or diplomacy or striking any kind of tentative compact with a foreign policymaker. And the same would apply to senators coming here, meeting with foreign policymakers or meeting with corporate heads from other countries, our own lawmakers meeting with people like that. CERN could very well just be sort of a diversion from those more meat and potatoes, kind of a little, garnish on their plate. So that's how I perceive it now, because as you say, there's not a lot to go on. It's sort of a bolt from the blue. Why is CERN here? So that's not the biggest issue, really. One of the ones, Dan, that's not covered and is not on their official agenda is the Global Cities program. The Chicago Council on Global Affairs, a bird of a feather ally with Bilderberg, is meeting June 7 through 9 at the Chicago Art Institute. I covered their meeting last year because I couldn't go to Bilderberg in Dresden, Germany, and that was their first. This is their second Global Cities Forum, and it was covered today, June 2nd, at the ukcolumn.org. Explicit quotes that the Global Cities program is about having the cities network together to basically secede from the nation states that they inhabit. So the people within the Bilderberg orbit, Bilderberg's part of a larger network, are looking at cities as being quasi-independent, to where they don't have to obey their home nations. They can embrace climate change and embrace the carbon credits and all these things that are supposed to counteract so-called man-made climate change. Embrace that even if the national leader doesn't. They can embrace sanctuary cities even if the national leader of their home nation wants border controls. So it's sort of a form of ideological and operational secession. And so they discussed this explicitly at Bilderberg 2014 in Denmark, and as you and I both know, the topics don't die the year they're discussed. Some of the topics they discuss carry over years and years and years because they don't die on the vine. They're long-term, evergreen kind of projects. Global Cities is one of those things. So Chicago Council on Global Affairs is a big one to watch June 7 through 9.
Wow, it reminds me of the globalist dream of a Agenda 21, now Agenda 2030 type of control grid, that's being put in place. It's been 5 years since we've been here, and what do you think about? I mean, I recall, there being hundreds, maybe 100 journalists and a couple thousand protesters. Seems a little bit smaller this year. Are things changing in that regard, or is there still a massive awakening happening?
I think that over the cyberspace and in general, there's more knowledge about who Bilderberg is and what they're about. I think that largely due to financial restrictions, people having jobs and families, they get a little older, maybe if they were once a younger activist. It's hard to make it out to these things. I myself couldn't make Dresden last year due to financial and circumstantial limitations. It's not easy to get out and be a protester like the paid ones that George Soros funds. They've got all day, every day. These people that are, fake humanitarians. What's their name? What's the name? Infantata. Potato. Who knows what their name is? But they've got money to burn. At least their activist leaders do, and they use the others as sheep and tools. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's plenty of interest and knowledge, but it just doesn't always manifest itself in on the ground activism. Although the mainstream press awoke last year, the Washington Post broke its silence 5 years ago when they came to Chantilly here last at the Westfields Marriott. The Washington Times had an article. Some other papers, a smattering. Last year, the Kansas City Star made a big deal of Lindsey Graham going to Bilderberg in Dresden. Now they're silent so far on Lindsey Graham returning here this year. So the mainstream press going silent this year, or virtually silent, doesn't help, because maybe that would draw a little more curiosity. But even the alternative media probably could have given this a little more advance notice. But we gave it a goodly amount, and I'm sure you did too on your news network. I think it's just kind of a roll of the dice, people's life circumstances, but the knowledge is spreading, even if the activism isn't always evident.
Very true. And you yourself have been doing this for quite some time. When did you first start covering Bilderberg? As we just wrap this up, I want to, because I've seen you around since I started, pretty much. When did you first come aware of this and start reporting on it?
Reporting on it 2010, when Tucker took me under his wing in Spain, Sitges, Spain, this hotel on a hill. There were photographers in the woods wearing caps made out of branches with long lenses. You and many of us did a photographic assault on these guys. There was thousands of photographs of these guys. It was just amazing. So since 2010, I only missed 1 year since then. That was Dresden last year. I don't remember exactly when I first saw you. I want to say Switzerland, maybe 2011. But that's how long I've been doing it. Tucker's last year was 5 years ago when they met here last, and then I've been doing it solo since then, and that's it in a nutshell.
Well, your analysis has been bang on over the years, so people, if they're interested in learning more from you, where should they go? Who are you currently writing for, and what are the websites they should be checking out?
AmericanFreePress.net. This is our front page from the one that we put out right before the meeting. Elite Meet. You can download this PDF and use it as a flyer. It's the front page condensed. AmericanFreePress.net. I also have a blog at thetruthhound.com, and then there's other links to other outlets here and there. I occasionally appear on the ukcolumn.org and Press for Truth.
I strongly recommend that you guys check all of this out. We'll have links in the description below. Mr. Anderson, thanks so much for talking to us.
Thanks, Dan.